Welcome to my arts channel, Professor Gide's Art World. Today we are introducing uh, a, an arts man or visitor into the house. We want to interview him as well as review his very fine work. Welcome. Our guest for today, can you introduce yourself to us? Give us your name, your state of origin, your ethnicity, whether you are a Yoruba or Igbo man, and your religion.
You're welcome. My name is Joseph Segun Agunsoye. I was born in Ibadan, Oyo State. I'm from Ijebu-Jesha, in Osun State, and I'm a Christian.
Thank you. My viewers will also like to know about your educational background. If you have gone to any art school or you have had any art tutelage.
Well, I said I was born in Ibadan. I had my education, primary and secondary school in Ibadan. My arts experience school is Toki Art Studio, and my boss there is Turayo Onibokuta and Tunde Odunlade. These are they are the ones that taught us how to do the art, encourage us, and that's where I spent 3, 4, 5 years.
Thank you very much. Now, what actually gave you the inspiration? What fired your interest in arts?
That's when I was in secondary school. I loved sketching, drawings. When I see things that strange to me, and Toki Art Studio, very close to my father's house. I used to pass the place, and Prince Studio Odunlade encouraged us, motivated us to do the art. Because they always the environment of the Toki Art Studio. He always has the visitors, foreign visitors, that they will be dancing, playing drums, and he invited us to there. And Mr. Prince Studio Odunlade is the one that says that most of his works attract me, and even himself attract me to do the art.
Now you've told us about the things that give you inspiration and the people that give you those inspirations. Do you have any mentors who are known artists in Nigeria?
Most of my mentors, they are the one in the Toki studio, the studio Odunlade and Turayo Onibokuta. But most of their works attract me, that makes me to love art up till now. That I still love what he taught us to how to do the art.
Okay, thank you. What can you give as advice to aspiring artists? You remember there was a time one young man came to me and said that, Prof, I see that you collect artwork. I would love to have somebody as a mentor who will teach me how to go about learning more about arts. So, who do you will you say? What advice will you give to aspiring artists?
Well, to me, right from their parents, if you allow them to do what they would like to do, and art is not something you force someone to study or to learn. Because nothing, it doesn't have any inspiration about art, you not survive on it. Art is Prince Studio Odunlade and Turayo Onibokuta. Those are the ones I would say that what I'm gaining today, they are the ones that gave it to me, which I can't forget for my life. That's it.
What is the field of art that you are really into?
My style, I started with batik, pen and ink, but now people knows me with my style called textile painting, which I brought up from batik. I call it textile painting. That's what I do now. And most of my friends knows it with me. It knows the style. I use pieces of clothes that I collected from tailors to do my works. So that's the style of my works. But everybody must have his own style for people to know that this is Segun's art. This is Prince Studio Ndadi's art. This is Turayo Ibokuta's art. So I have my own style, which I call textile painting. That's what I'm doing now.
Mr. Agunsoye, what is the title that you have given to this piece of artwork?
Aje.
Aje is a Yoruba word that means money.
Yeah.
But I have given it the title ancient currency because this is one of the oldest currencies in the world.
It's nice.
Historically, I was going through West African history, and I came across a short introduction in 1776 when a British officer was posted to the eastern part of Nigeria. He said when he got there that these people had no currency. But by 1801, the British had increased the revenues they collect from their colonies. So the British officers were surprised to see people coming in boats with loads of these seashells. And they received it as money for the revenue that the British Empire demanded from their colonies. So this is a currency that has been on in the world, in India, in West Africa, for a very long time. No other currency was in vogue. So once more, these seashells were considered to be the first form of universal currency. It was brought by Arabs into West Africa to pay for slaves that were sent into the New World. That would mean the Americas. And the currency became very general in the West African sub-region. It was not only limited to buying and selling, but also for traditional and cultural celebrations. If you noticed in the work we introduced previously, you see dancers who regale their feet with these cowries, and they make their dancing moves a little bit beautifully noisy. So cowries were used for other things, like the juju people or the traditional medicine men use it as a form of divination. And it was very, very popular in the West African sub-region, because I remember when I was growing up, my mother would call this woman to come to our house and would ask her to tell him what kind of future lies ahead or what is going to happen to the children. and the woman will take one of these cowries and use it to touch our heads. And after touching our heads, she will then sit down and begin to talk according to the inspiration from the cowries. Mr. Agunsoye, what particularly gave you the inspiration for this particular piece of work?
I would say that number one, I love cowries, and I used to see it in this, with people as a decoration, and I read about it that is the old things that we spend as a money. So most of the children of nowadays, they don't know anything about cowries, how what it is to us.
How
So
they originated?
yes, how they originated. So I have to sit down one day and make sketchings about it, that these are forefathers money that they spend, and I make the sketchings just to show my children or their friends, other young ones, to know about what they're spending.
Role the cowries played in our lives.
Yes, that's it.
Now, I like to tell a small story to end this review. How did people get rich? How is it that some people have more cowries than other people? Well, in those days, in this West African sub-region, the people in a village will gather hunters, real powerful hunters, and buy cows. The villagers will pay for the cows. You don't have to be able to buy a whole cow, but you can just pay as much as you have, so that when the hunters return, the number of cowries you get will depend on the amount that you have paid. So these hunters, they buy cows and lead them from the hinterland to the sea coast in Lagos. It's a long distance, sometimes more than 100 or up to 200 miles. And when they get to Lagos, they will kill the cows and push them into the coast in the ocean. It turns out that these sea animals, that is the animals in these shells, they find a lot of food on the bodies, on the skins of the cows that were submerged in the ocean, close to the coast. The hunters will go in every day to collect as many cowries of these animals that are there and take them home, and they will keep on collecting until the cows have decayed, and these sea animals in shells are no longer adhering to the skin of the cows. They will now collect this into their bags and carry them home back to the village. When they get to the village, they will count the number of cowries, and those cowries will be distributed according to the amount each of the villagers had contributed for the purchase of the cows. This is how many hunters got really rich, because they receive the major part of the cowries on return. And those who are fairly wealthy in the village also get a good chunk of the cowries. It is quite revealing to see that in the West African sub-region, actually universally, that we have stock exchanges before the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange. Because with time, people grow to know how these shells were collected and how people were getting rich. So more and more people were taking interest and contributing to getting these cows to the seaports and collecting cowries in exchange. If you look at the painting of Mr. Agunsoye, the color here is very interesting because it shows green vans. These vans were available along the sea coast in those days, but the ecosystem has changed. The ecosystem has changed. Rarely will you find some of these by the sea coast. Maybe if you go deep down in the sea coast, you may still find some ants. But I think these green leaves, these green vines, is also a reflection of the location of where these white seashells were collected in those days. So we thank the farmers who were the moderators of that stock exchange of the early times. And we thank Mr. Agunsoye for his presentation. I think tomorrow we will be able to do another presentation. I think this piece of work was in 2007.
Yeah.
There is another piece of work Mr. Agunsoye had in 2007, which you will find even more fascinating than this. So we keep that for another day. Thank you, Mr. Agunsoye.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget that if you find it interesting, hit the subscribe button, and I promise you a much better win next time. Thank you.